Okay, we're going to start our traverse, and you can see it in the exercise 2. Coordinate changes applied to coordinate values. It's right below there. Our traverse starts at point A, and we're going to assign point A 0 northing, 0 easting. And because we're surveyors, we're not giving it X and Y values. We're finally getting around to just calling things northing and easting. So anyway, we're going to start at point A, value of 0 and 0, and you notice I left myself a little bit of room just in case. You never know. So anyway, our traverse says from a point of beginning, traverse north, so north 90 degrees east. That means we don't go north any, we just go east for 600 feet. So north 0 and 600 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, before we get too much further, I probably should have explained this earlier, we're going to be using graph paper, a protractor for carrying our angles, and an engineer's scale. Not an architect's scale, an engineer's scale. So make sure you have one. You can get one if you're in Odessa. You can get one at Michael's. If not, maybe the college bookstore will have one. In any event, make sure you have that. I told you to use a pencil on yours, but if I did that, you couldn't read it, so I have to use my Marks-A-Lot. So anyway, we're going to read out the traverse first, and I'm going to tell you which directions things are going. So, point A to point B, north 90 degrees east, and that means you don't go north, you just go east, 600 feet. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. So I'll just go ahead and put this here because I know exactly where it is. B. And I've got that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, I wish I had an eraser I could use. Thence north 45 degrees east. So that is north 45 degrees east. So I know that I'm going to go over to here, 282 feet, 0.84 feet. And I know my angle, I don't know my distance yet, but I'm going to cheat a little bit. So anyway, then north from this point, this is C. And from here, it gets a little dicey because we're going to go north 20, 33, 22 west, 427 feet. So I don't know exactly where that is yet. So let's start on the traverse with the scale and the protractor, and we'll see how things turn out. We don't really need a protractor to go due east. Let's make sure we are on the correct scale. So this is, you'll notice that your scale 10, each one of your numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. fall on these grids. We have assigned these grids 100-foot value. It could just as easily be 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 50 feet, it doesn't matter. For this scale, it's just real convenient to use. So I'm going to make this line here. That's the first leg of our traverse. Now we know that we are going north 45 degrees east. And this is where it's really hard for me to use this. Let's see, there we go. Now that is my point. Remember our target sites. Imagine that you had one of those target sites here. So north 10, 20, 30, 45. There's your little tick. Now that gives you your bearing. Now let's go our distance. What is the distance? It is 282.84 feet. So you just go as far as you can in judging the correct distance. And I'm going to guess it's about there. Because that's about, it's a little over 200 50, 75, a little bit over there. So that's our traverse here. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. We're saying from this point, C, and C is right here, not that line, that point right there. It is north 20 degrees, 33 minutes, 22 seconds west. So what you have to do is take the protractor, put it there, so 10, 20, and a tiny, tiny bit. So let's make a mark there. That is that bearing from that point, but we don't know the distance yet. What is the distance according to this traverse? It's north 20 degrees, 33 minutes, 22 seconds west, 427.20 feet. Get back on your scale, your 10 scale, and figure out where 427 feet ought to be. It ought to be somewhere right about in there. So let's just go that bearing and that distance, and we end up 427. And remember, this is kind of rough, so don't be too critical just yet. So just go there, and that's about to that point. Oh, I went from the wrong point. I'm sorry. There we go, 427 feet. There. So ignore that. This is provisional anyway. So now we're going to traverse south and west. What's the bearing? It's in the call. South 60, 15, that's south 60 degrees, 15 minutes, 18 seconds west, 403.11 feet. So south from this point. So make sure you get your lines lined up. So 60, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Can't get too precise with this, but we'll just do the best we can. Now we're going to go 400 feet. Remember to use your 10 scale. So just ever so slightly over 400 feet. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, right about there. And this is a rough sketch, doesn't have to be perfect. Now we are going to go to finish out our point, our traverse. We're going to go south, 36 degrees, 52 minutes, 12 seconds west, 500 feet. And this is E. So let me, what do I say, south 36. From this point here, will put us, that's not, look, there we go, that's closer. This is provisional, so 10, 20, 35, 6. And we're going to go, how far did I say that was? 500 feet. So let's go from, remember our 10 scale, set it on 500. So from there, we sort of intersect. Remember that we're not doing the math here, we're just seeing if we are coming back where we ought to be. You see it sort of closes with the bearings and the distances that you've got. Now, here comes the fun part. We're going to do the math, and you've got it on your sheet. We've got point A, point of beginning, 0, 0. Then you traverse south or north 90 degrees east over here. So you know you don't increase your northing value, but you go east. So that's a plus. So that's 600 easting and a 0 northing. So now, from there, we go north 45 degrees east, 282.84 feet to point C. Cosine of 45, amazingly enough, is 1.4 something, and the sine is also the same thing, that's 1.4. So we know we're adding 200 both ways, to the northing and to the easting. So we have 200 and 800. So far so good. Now, we have north 20 degrees, 33 minutes, 22 seconds west. What does that tell you? It tells you that north is positive and east is negative. So we're going to add to the north, the cosine of 33.22 times 421.20 is 400. So all we have to do is add 400 to 200 and you get 600. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's up here on the top line. Easting, you're going to subtract from the 800, not from 0, from the 800. So our change in easting on here is the sine of 33.22 times 421.20 is equal to a negative 150. So since you had already, easting, you were already at 800, you subtract 150, you end up with 650. So far so good. Now, you're going in a southwesterly direction, south 60 degrees, 15 minutes, 18 seconds west, 403.11 feet. So that's going to give you, change in northing is going to be, since you're going southwest, everything is negative. Change in northing is negative. Change in easting, because you're going southwest. So cosine of 60, 15, 18 times 403.11 is 200. So that's negative 200, so that's 400 northing. And then the sine is sine of 60, 15, 18 times 403.11 will give you a negative 350. So that will leave you with 400 and 300. Now, south 36, 52, 12, east 500 feet, cosine of 36, 52, 12 times 500 is minus 400, so you're back to 0 on your northing. And the sine of 36, 52, 12 times 500 is equal to a negative 300. So you went northing minus 400, 1, 2, 3, 4, and easting minus 3, 1, 2, 3. You ended up back at 0. Your traverse closed. And you can see with the figure, the stuff that I put in the exercise, all you end up doing to close your traverse, add your northings. Your positives should equal your negatives, and your easting, your positives should equal your negatives. That's how you do a traverse. We can add the coordinate values to the traverse after you finish this part of it. First thing you want to do is make sure, did I start at this point and did I finish at that point? In this case, you did. And all it is just little right triangle solutions. That's a right triangle. That's a right triangle. That's a right triangle. That's a right triangle. It's all right triangle solutions, and it's really, really easy. So there's no point in making it any harder than we have to. So we're going to do another traverse in your exercises, but that's where we started, and that's where we're headed.